WrestleManiacs, Maniacs. This is the podcast, it's called WrestleManiacs. Adam, Donna, Indy, and Josh, they're not together forever in the sun. WrestleManiacs. This is the podcast, it's called WrestleManiacs. WWE, AEW, TNA, JPW. WrestleManiacs. Good evening, WrestleManiacs. It's Josh again here tonight for another review of WWE Monday Night Raw, emanating from Columbus, Ohio. And tonight, what a show we had. We have a couple of matches tonight. We have a tag team title match for the world tag team titles, I should say, with Awesome Truth versus DIY. Our main event, we have a battle royal for the vacant women's heavyweight championship. And as well, we have an explanation from Chad Gable of his actions last week, an attack on Sami Zayn. So without further ado, again, welcome to the Monday Night Review, and let's get started. So we actually opened up the show with a promo with Jey Uso in the middle of the ring, pretty much letting us know he is ready for Lyon, France, and for the challenge to challenge the World Heavyweight Champion, Damian Priest, at Backlash. He says that pretty much this match is the deciding factor of saying that, everything he went through with the bloodline, with Cody Rhodes, with all of everything happening, basically this match is going to prove that he is the main event, Jey Uso, and that he says who he says he is. Then after he says that, we cue up Damian Priest coming out in street clothes, sans Judgment Day, or so we believe. Coming out with a more serious tone, no real makeup, just kind of normal, everyday street clothes, basically gets in and says, look, about a year ago, you and I went to war, and I respect you. Talks about, that one night, Jey Uso basically beat his ass, essentially, and took him out for drinks, and he said back in the day, you were on that bloodline high dollar stuff, so essentially talking really kind of a shop in a way that was so different, basically saying they went out for drinks together after a show, after beating each other, which is a bit of a change, kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit, talking about, them two hanging out after having a match together, both of them being, babyface and heel. So a little surprising there, but hey, nothing wrong with that. And, also Damian Priest talks about one of those nights, Jey Uso says, we next. Basically saying that, look, you and I, our generation, we're next in line for the World Heavyweight Champion, the world champions of our era. And, Damian Priest is really putting him over, essentially, almost like a babyface, and then says, but one thing is I'm world champion and you're not. So really, it was my time, not your time. And, basically tells him, look at Backlash. You were going to basically be fed to me by the machine. Again, a kind of insider term saying that the machine, as we all kind of talk about, you're going to be the first in line of many that's going to be fed to me, and you're going to lose to me. And it's good for you because at least you'll get a world title shot, but you're definitely not taking the title from me. So talking a lot of shop here tonight, talking a little bit, again, back behind the curtain with mentioning the machine by name. I kind of like this promo. It was really kind of, set up in a way that I didn't expect. Damian Priest comes out on his own, essentially. But again, as we know, Judgment Day usually is never far behind. And as he's talking to Jey Uso basically leaving, all of a sudden JD McDonough comes in, planning to attack him, planning to super kick him. Well, JD McDonough is going to attack Jey Uso, and essentially, instead of kicking JD in the face with a super kick, JD actually dodges, and Damian Priest gets hit in the face with a super kick from Jey Uso. And Jey Uso, of course, gets out and leaves, and Damian Priest gives a death stare to JD McDonough, basically saying, look, I'm not supposed to be hit. I'm the world champion. You let me get hit. You dodged, essentially. And so we have a little bit of a tension with the Judgment Day. JD always seems to be in trouble, but one thing I did like in this promo that Jay did mention after Damian mentioned you're not world champion, he said, look, with mommy gone, now you're the boss. But that also means that you are technically Dominic's bitch now. So again, really kind of a scathing kind of, type of promo between the two. Pretty good. I wouldn't say it's the best build up. It doesn't make me want to see their match really any more or less at Backlash in a world championship thing, but it might take a little bit for Damian Priest to be seen in that light. So again, a good first promo between these two. So what we actually come right straight on to next after that is we have our World Tag Team Championship match with DIY challenging Awesome Truth. Now again, DIY won the match a couple of weeks ago in a triple threat tag team match. And actually, we have this match between these two babyface teams. Again, commentary talks about how DIY is always confused with DX and R-Truth and his craziness. This match was pretty good. It was pretty hard hitting. Between two babyface teams, you definitely could tell that DIY was trying to win the championships. Awesome Truth did a good job at really playing the babyface in peril. Again, I can't tell you that either team really played the babyface or heel role, but believe it or not, Awesome Truth actually comes out with a win here and keeps their World Tag Team Championships. However, there's a little bit of a different event that happens after, I should say. A little bit of a tease, I guess you'd call it. We actually had Johnny Gargano picked up by The Miz after Miz hit him with the Truth finisher, essentially, their combination finisher. And basically, Johnny Gargano shakes their hands. And when they go to shake Tommaso Ciampa's hands, he just waves it off and gets out of the ring. Again, I always feel that Ciampa is a better heel than he is a babyface. So is this leading to a DIY breakup and Gargano and Ciampa are going to feud kind of like their NXT matches? If they did, it'd be great. Definitely wouldn't be upset to see that on a main show on Monday Night Raw and see what they can do. Or maybe DIY both turn heel. Again, you never can tell. Johnny Gargano was a heel when he was in the way in NXT. So interesting times ahead for DIY. They lost the World Heavyweight Championship, Tag Team Championship opportunity. So be interesting to see if both turn heel or just one. So again, pretty good match this evening between these two teams. So then we go back to the backstage, and we actually have Damian Priest confronting JD McDonough, basically saying, what the heck's the deal with you guys, man? What's going on? You literally left me out there to get kicked in the face, essentially. And we cue Dominic Mysterio coming up in an arm sling and basically showing up with Santos Escobar saying, look, I found a replacement for my match later tonight with Ricochet and Andrade. So now we find out that the match tonight with Ricochet and Andrade, Santos Escobar from the Legado del Fantasma crew will be joining JD McDonough to face those two. Damian Priest isn't too happy about it. Again, he's still not liking that Dom is going and using in other factions individuals and talking to them. Didn't let Damian Priest know what the plan was, what even happened to him with his arm. So essentially he went behind his back and set this match up. So again, more tension teased in the Judgment Day. Again, more tension teased between all these individuals. And what's interesting, I thought, in this promo at the end is basically Damian Priest said, look, you guys take care of business and stay out of mine. Essentially telling them to take care of Judgment Day business, take care of their own stuff. And that'll play later on into what we saw later on this evening. So since WrestleMania, it is the first appearance from Gunther. And Gunther comes out with Imperium in tow, of course, and basically talks about, look, you would expect me to bash Sami Zayn and talk bad about him, but look, my name was etched in history as the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. No one could take that away from me. And essentially now in the new era, I'm going to also be embedded into this new era, essentially. And told Sami Zayn, look, thank you for taking the weight off of me. Now I'm not a target anymore. Now I'm the hunter. And now I can go after any championship I want. And he said, this is going to start with becoming the King of the Ring in a couple of weeks with the King and King of the Ring PLE event in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. So we're going to be crowning a king and queen of the ring in a couple of weeks in Saudi Arabia. So he declares himself for that. Basically saying, look, this is what's going to happen. Fair warning, I am now the hunter, not the hunted. Pretty much everybody watch your back. And to my surprise, a New Day actually comes out and makes fun of Gunther. Basically talks about Xavier Woods specifically, says, look, I'm the King of the Ring winner the last time we had this tournament, and I'm going to defend and also become, again, this two-time King of the Ring. I was the champion, but King of the Ring, essentially. And basically talks about Gunther saying, look, you don't have your gold with you anymore, do you? Where's your gold, Gunther? Where's your gold? And what I really love is Gunther said, look, this is beneath me. I'm not going to do this. You two take care of this, talking to Kaiser and Vinci. And New Day says, we've done this before, but let's do this again. Sure, let's have a match. So that leads into Gunther sitting ringside, of course, not on commentary, just ringside. And we have the New Day versus Imperium and Kaiser and Vinci. And as you can imagine, the New Day pulls out the win here, and Gunther looks disgusted, basically walks out on them and walks to the back, leaving Vinci and Kaiser in the ring. Well, Kaiser actually consoles Vinci at the end, basically saying, look, it's all right, it happens. And as they go to leave, Kaiser suddenly loses his stuff and literally slams Vinci into the side of the ring where the apron is, and basically just beats him up. And if you remember the spot a couple of weeks ago when he took Kofi on the side of the steps and basically did that running drop kick, literally did that to Vinci, basically beat the hell out of him essentially and left him laying. And you see him walk to the back, and Gunther surprisingly just nods in approval. So, and you can hear Kaiser saying, "I told you so." And basically, I can't say that Imperium's technically no more, but I can definitely say that Vinci is no longer a part of Imperium. So quite a change. Again, did I expect it? They telegraphed it a little bit with keeping on them two for a little bit longer than I expected. But you know what? I'm glad, because this has been building and building and building. Again, for the last couple of months, it has been Gunther telling Kaiser, Vinci is going to be on you. Essentially, if he loses, you lose. So this is kind of a payoff of a long-term storyline from months ago, even though they really haven't highlighted it too much. This is actually the continuation of that. So again, great promo from Gunther. Everybody's going for the King of the Ring. I like that they're putting the importance on that. I like that the fact that Gunther, as well as our next superstar, Drew McIntyre, comes out and declares himself as well for the King of the Ring tournament. And unsurprisingly, or I should say surprisingly, Sheamus comes out, a former King of the Ring himself, and basically says, "Look, man, you know what happened to you? Essentially, you were world champion. You did it. You won the world title in front of your friends and family at WrestleMania in front of people. And brother, you did it just for a meme and for a t-shirt." Basically said that's a hard truth that anyone wants to tell you, that literally you messed up. You screwed the pooch essentially here. And, you know, if you've seen the things online about Sheamus's return about a week or so ago, everybody's been really talking about Sheamus's figure. Let's just say that he usually was really built. And again, I can't really say he's fat technically, but that's what's been on the internet lately, is that everybody's saying that Sheamus basically gained a ton of weight while he was off all this time. And so what I really love is the line of Sheamus saying, "Look, friends tell each other the hard truths. I've known you for 20 years, and lad, you're focusing too much on this. You're basically wasting your time with the CM Punk thing and everything." And Drew McIntyre fires back in typical Drew McIntyre troll fashion, saying, "You know, you and I for the last couple years have had banger after banger after banger after banger," meaning really great matches. And it seems like after you were on the injury list, you all of a sudden went to burger to burger to burger to burger, basically making fun of the fact that Sheamus has gained weight and is technically, according to the IWC, fat or not in shape anymore. So really kind of great thing. And this leads into the fact that Sheamus is going to have a match against Shinsuke Nakamura, which we're going to get into that next. You know, really good match between these two. This was a lot more competitive than I was expecting in a good way. I really wanted to see this match. I don't recall seeing them two fight too terribly much. I'm sure they fought before, but tonight just felt a little bit different. Usually I really hate when Shinsuke has to fight returning superstars because it seems like they sacrifice him to them. But, you know, really the finish of this was really good. You know, Shinsuke was going to go for a Kinshasa at the end, but just gets caught by Sheamus's road kick for the 1-2-3. So a lot more competitive, and I'm hoping that this is going to rehab Shinsuke Nakamura. Even in his loss, he actually looked really good this time. So I was really, really happy about the fact that they had this match, and it was great. It really was a really good match. And nothing really much from McIntyre besides a stare down after, but nothing really much too happened after that. So what we get next is a backstage interview with Sami Zayn talking about Chad Gable's actions, saying, "Look, Chad's about to go to the ring a little bit later, and I'm going to really be curious to see what he says. But, you know, no matter what, there's really going to be no way he can justify what he's done, and how is he going to defend his actions? There's no way." And as we're about to pan out and go back to the ring, enter Bronson Reed saying, "Hey, you don't need to be worrying about Chad Gable. You need to be worrying about me." So Sammy looks at the title, looks at Bronson, says, "Look, you want this title? Anywhere, anytime, any place." Bronson, of course, just kind of nods and says, "I count on it." As he walks off, as again, we kind of think it's going to wrap up. Suddenly, Bronson Reed comes back from behind and attacks Sammy from behind in a quick fashion, knocking him to a wall, basically saying, "I'm going to take this anytime." And you're looking at the new Intercontinental Champion as the agents and referees kind of separate them. So kind of a nice little wrinkle. Kind of gives a little bit of a wrinkle to the Chad Gable possible return to the IC title picture, but also throws in Bronson Reed, which is kind of a chaos element. So I really like this. I really like that they're kind of continuing with the story, because if you watched the match last week prior to Sammy and them going out, Bronson Reed said the same. Whoever's champion, I'm coming. I've got next, essentially. So good continuation of the story there. I really like that. Which this then in turn leads to Chad Gable coming out with the Alpha Academy in the ring behind him. Everybody else in gear except Chad Gable's kind of in a suit. And basically, Chad Gable reads them the riot act, meaning that basically saying that, you know, the reason I did this is, Sammy, you put this Intercontinental Championship in my face. You rubbed your win and victory, which would have been my victory, in my face. Not only did you come over after the match as I was crying in the corner, put that championship in front of my face, you also raised me up and raised my hand. But what else did you do? Not on top of that, then you went out to your wife and kid and basically hugged and kissed them, basically reminding me of the moment that I should have had at WrestleMania. But I was too damn busy training you. And really, look, as a matter of fact, I've been spending way too much time training losers, talking about the Alpha Academy standing right behind him. And he goes, each one of them, talking about Tozawa saying, you're just a little comedy man, you know, really, you're not really anything. Calling Maxine stupid as a bunch of rocks, even though he's trained her, and Otis. The number one guy is the biggest disappointment. And basically tells them, look, the Alpha Academy, the idea is here to get feedback, criticism, good, bad, or indifferent. And now we as a collective, the Alpha Academy, our mission is now to become the Intercontinental Champion, i.e. me becoming the Intercontinental Champion. And all of you, I need to hear you say that you're going to do it, that you're going to say yes to this mission of basically being all in to make me the world Intercontinental Champion. So really great promo. Of course, Otis says yes reluctantly, and Chad Gable goes to leave. And, you know, we now have a Alpha Academy that's ruled by a tyrant, a crazed, dare I say, Chad Gable, focused so much on the Intercontinental Championship and saying, I've trained you enough. Now it's time for you to pay me back for all the training, essentially. So really good continuity here. I really like that Chad Gable mentioned the fact that he did waste time training Sammy, and that he did give up his WrestleMania spot pretty much, even though he lost, essentially. I do like that they kind of are really, you know, to me, it almost seems like they're taking kind of what fans are saying online and kind of adding that little bit of realism, little bit of complaints that the fans are complaining about. Well, why is Chad Gable training Sami Zayn at this point, wasting all this time? And I really like it. I really like how they're going with this Chad Gable story. And really, I think he's going to be a great heel, and he's going to be a different heel than he was a couple of years ago when the Alpha Academy first started. So great, great, great thing. So what we get next is actually a backstage segment with Ricochet, basically kind of just warming up, essentially. And enter Dominic Mysterio. Basically, Ricochet builds up to the fact that, look, I'm going to beat your boy on the WWE Speed Show on X. I believe it's like on Wednesday mornings, I believe. In a semifinal for the Speed Championship, I believe. Something like that. So a cute little kind of, you know, backstage segment hyping up the Speed match for the semifinals with JD and Ricochet on Wednesday. And kind of getting Dominic Mysterio more heat. Nothing wrong with getting Dom some more heat, right? So what we get next is a, before I get to there, actually, we had a backstage interview with Nia Jax, basically saying it's going to be all these women in one monster. I'm going to eliminate them one by one by one to become the women's world heavyweight champion. So I really like this kind of old school, just, you know, look, I'm a monster. I'm going to destroy them all. Again, throughout the night, we've kind of seen backstage segments of Natalya warming up with a bunch of different women doing that. And we're going to have a really wild little brawl right beforehand, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But again, so we had Nia Jax's promo, and we get this Ricochet and Andrade versus JD McDonough and Santos Escobar match. You know, really pretty fast-paced match. It was a lot faster than I expected. We actually had, excuse me, Ricochet and Andrade win this match. Pretty cool spots. There was one spot to where we had Hurricanrana from the apron from Santos Escobar. Again, just really highlighting cruiserweight matches. Again, pretty quick, but the real story is after this match is over. After JD McDonough and Santos Escobar lose with Dominic Mysterio with them, we actually see Damian Priest attack Andrade and attack Ricochet, basically hitting them both with a finisher, basically telling them, look, I know how to take care of business. Going up to him, talking to Dom in Spanish, and of course JD saying, what's he saying? What's he saying? And Damian says, you know what I want to say? This is what I'm saying to you. I don't need you guys. You need me, and walks off. Really big thing, because again, remember the Judgment Day's idea is that they're a collective group of members working together, but also working on individual goals. So there is no real ruler in the Judgment Day. But Damian Priest is really starting to take effect of the fact that they're always losing. That again, that JD and Dom are not dominating as they should in the Judgment Day business. So I'm starting to wonder. I'll be curious to see once Finn Balor, because for whatever reason Finn Balor was not here. I don't know if he was in Europe, possibly on their tour. But definitely interesting to see that he was not here. So very well done, again, with Damian Priest. And so we finally go to a backstage segment, actually, before the Battle Royal, with an interview with Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae, basically talking about, look, yeah, we've kind of won through some nefarious means, but, look, we won. Doesn't really matter. And all of a sudden, chaos happens when we start hearing screams, and the interviewer runs back, and you see Nia Jax and Liv Morgan being held away from each other as they're screaming and hollering at each other. And you see Becky Lynch come up, start grabbing the microphone, and you see Nia Jax and Liv Morgan basically fisticuffing in the backstage, essentially right behind her, fighting. And she's saying, wow, how crazy is this getting? And you get this promo with Becky saying, look, she's coming to win the World Heavyweight Champion. The man is here in Columbus. She walks by Maxine and goes to her live as they're talking, heading towards the ring and saying, look, go out there and prove why you should be here. Basically motivating her after she was pretty well put down by Chad Gable. So I thought that was a cool little moment. Probably planned, but it definitely looked like it was something that maybe, who knows, a live microphone. Becky Lynch could have just saw her and just maybe give her a little pep talks. I thought that was a really neat thing. But again, we get the cool kind of segment of walking from the backstage into the gorilla position, into the arena with Becky Lynch, basically saying, I'm ready and I'm here to win the Women's World Championship. And then we get to the Battle Royal for the Women's World Championship. And we actually get Becky Lynch eliminating Liv Morgan at the last to win this Women's World Champion. So now Becky Lynch is a 7-time Women's World Champion in WWE. So this is a pretty good match. I mean, again, like any Battle Royal, it's really hard to kind of grade because, again, you've got so much going on with a bunch of different people. You've got Liv Morgan in there. You've got Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. You've got Indy Hartwell. You've got Candice LeRae. You've got Chelsea Green. You've got Piper Niven. You've got Nia Jax. You've got Becky Lynch, of course, as well as many different others. Natalya. Again, forgive me if I forget anyone else. Oh, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. So really cool little mini moments between here and there. We had Maxine actually eliminate. Oh, I'm sorry, Ivy Nile too. We actually had Maxine Dupree eliminate Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae individually, basically kind of tying into the story that we've been having for a couple of weeks between the tag team of Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree. So I thought that was a really cool mini story. We actually had Piper Niven essentially attack Becky Lynch pretty brutally and throw her on a table. And in an interesting kind of almost botchamania spot, Nia Jax tried to chokeslam Piper Niven. Yes, Piper Niven onto Becky Lynch. She was on the table to break the table. Table didn't break. She tried again and could barely lift up Piper Niven in a scary moment. Tried to do a Samoan backdrop. Table still didn't break. So they had to go to commercial. When we returned, the table has actually been broken. And during the commercial break, what happened is Piper Niven is still on the other side of the commentator's table. And Nia Jax actually power bombs Becky Lynch onto the table, breaking it finally after the third attempt. So that is, Becky's technically out of the match, according to the commentators. She's not coming back. She's done for. And so we have, of course, Liv Morgan and Nia Jax as well fighting. And then we have Becky Lynch come in. So really great match. Nia Jax get eliminated when Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan actually tag team her and knock her out of the ring. So now it is between Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch. And really what cost Liv the match, she had Becky Lynch on the apron. She tried to do her, oh my gosh, I don't know why I can't think of her finisher name. But anyways, her finisher, and essentially Becky catches her, hits her with a manhandle slam, and eliminates her to become the Women's World Champion. And a really neat moment, which I'm really liking a lot, it kind of sans what DDP used to do back in WCW days, if you recall those, is she actually goes out into the crowd and, runs into the kids, hugs the kids, high fives everybody in the stands. And we go off the air with Becky Lynch holding the World Championship over her head as the crowd just, is just elated that she's won the championship for the 7th time. So, folks, that's really it. I mean, again, we had a pretty wild Monday Night Raw. Again, we had couple good matches. We had the Awesome Truth and DIY. We had Sheamus and Shinsuke Nakamura definitely wanted to make me see them have another match again. Wouldn't mind if they actually made a triple threat between them three to maybe have a world title match. I wouldn't be upset at that. Again, hopefully that's again just hopeful for me. But anyways, thanks again for joining me tonight on this Raw review. You can always follow me again on Twitter at GamerPorosky, and also follow A Plus Hero Report at A Plus Opinions on Twitter, on Twitch, on X, on Facebook. We do everything and everywhere. So for the A Plus Hero Report, for Adam, for Dodala over at Rangers of Wrestling, and for me at WrestleManiacs, thanks again, everybody, for joining me tonight. And again, I will see you guys and gals on Tuesday night for WWE NXT, actually spring break-in. So again, see you guys and gals later. Have a good evening.